Why a narcissist panics when you finally leave. Imagine a scenario where someone who has spent months, perhaps years, controlling, manipulating, and belittling you suddenly finds themselves facing the one thing they fear most, your departure. The moment you step away from a narcissistic relationship, something extraordinary happens within their psyche. It's as if an invisible switch flips, triggering a cascade of emotions that they spent their entire lives trying to avoid. What causes this intense reaction? Why does a narcissist, who seemingly held all the power in the relationship, suddenly lose control when you decide to leave? These questions lead us to uncover fascinating insights about human psychology, emotional dependency, and the fragile foundations upon which narcissistic personalities are built. Throughout this exploration, we'll delve into the complex mechanisms that drive narcissistic behavior and why your decision to leave strikes at the very core of their existence. We'll examine real-life examples where individuals have witnessed firsthand how a narcissist's carefully constructed facade crumbles when faced with abandonment. You'll discover why their panic isn't just about losing you, but represents a fundamental threat to their entire identity. This journey will reveal how narcissists maintain control through intricate psychological webs, and why your departure triggers a crisis that challenges everything they believe about themselves and their place in the world. Prepare to uncover the startling truth about what really happens behind closed doors when a narcissist faces the prospect of being left alone. As we progress, you'll learn why their initial confidence often transforms into desperate attempts to win you back, followed by periods of intense anger and manipulation. We'll explore the psychological principles that explain why narcissists can't handle rejection and how their reaction patterns reveal deeper truths about their inner world. More importantly, you'll gain valuable insights into how understanding these dynamics can help you navigate similar situations with greater awareness and emotional resilience. Before we dive deeper into this compelling psychological phenomenon, I want to extend a warm invitation to join our community of learners and seekers. If you find value in these insights, please consider subscribing to our channel. It's completely free and ensures you won't miss future revelations about human psychology and personal growth. Your support helps us continue creating content that makes a real difference in people's lives. And if you know someone who might benefit from this knowledge, please share this information with them. These simple actions help spread awareness and empower more people to break free from toxic patterns. Now let's explore why a narcissist's world implodes when you finally choose to leave. At its core, a narcissist's panic stems from their deep-rooted fear of abandonment and rejection, emotions they spent their entire lives attempting to avoid through elaborate defense mechanisms. Their carefully constructed personality serves as a shield against these primal fears, and your presence in their life becomes essential scaffolding for maintaining this fragile structure. When you decide to leave, it's not just a relationship ending, it's their entire psychological edifice crumbling before their eyes. The narcissist's reaction to your departure reveals much about their internal landscape. Initially, they might respond with disbelief, convinced that their charm and manipulation will quickly bring you back under their control. This confidence stems from their belief in their own superiority and their historical success in maintaining relationships through dominance. However, as reality sets in and they realize you're serious about leaving, their true vulnerabilities begin to surface. The mask of invincibility cracks, exposing layers of insecurity and fear that they've desperately tried to conceal. What makes this situation particularly challenging is that narcissists often lack genuine self-awareness. They operate under the illusion that their value system, centered around control, admiration, and superiority, is universally accepted. Your departure challenges this fundamental belief, forcing them to confront the possibility that their worldview might be flawed. This cognitive dissonance creates intense psychological distress, manifesting as panic attacks, obsessive thoughts, and desperate attempts to regain control. They may suddenly become unusually affectionate, promise to change, or even threaten self-harm, all tactics designed to manipulate you into staying. The intensity of their reaction often surprises those leaving narcissistic relationships. People expect anger or denial, but the depth of their desperation can be overwhelming. This response pattern stems from several interconnected factors. First, narcissists derive their sense of self-worth almost entirely from external validation. Your presence provided a constant source of narcissistic supply, the attention, admiration, and control they crave. Without this supply, their self-image begins to dissolve, creating existential anxiety. Second, your departure threatens their carefully maintained illusion of perfection. Having someone leave voluntarily exposes flaws in their persona that they've worked tirelessly to hide. Consider Sarah's experience with her narcissistic partner of 5 years. When she announced her intention to leave, his initial reaction was dismissive arrogance, claiming she would never make it on her own. However, within days, his demeanor shifted dramatically. He began bombarding her with messages, alternating between declarations of love and accusations of betrayal. He showed up unexpectedly at her workplace, pleaded with mutual friends to intervene, and even threatened legal action over shared assets. His behavior escalated until he finally broke down in tears during one confrontation, revealing a level of vulnerability he had never shown before. This pattern of escalating panic reflects the narcissist's inability to process genuine emotional loss. Unlike healthy relationships where both parties can acknowledge pain and work through separation constructively, narcissists struggle with basic emotional regulation. Their reaction becomes increasingly erratic because they lack the psychological tools to manage rejection. Instead of processing their emotions healthily, they resort to familiar manipulation tactics, hoping to restore the status quo. This behavior often intensifies before eventually subsiding, though the timeline varies depending on individual circumstances. Understanding why narcissists panic when left requires examining their developmental history. Many narcissistic traits develop as coping mechanisms in childhood, often stemming from environments where love and attention were conditional or inconsistent. These early experiences create a deep-seated need for external validation, while simultaneously fostering mistrust of others' intentions. As adults, they recreate these dynamics in relationships, seeking constant reassurance while maintaining emotional distance. Your departure disrupts this carefully balanced system, triggering primitive fears of abandonment that lie buried beneath their confident exterior. The narcissist's panic also manifests in their distorted perception of time and consequences. While they may initially believe they can quickly win you back, reality often proves otherwise. This disconnect between expectation and outcome creates additional stress, leading to increasingly irrational behavior. They might start idealizing the relationship, remembering only the positive aspects, while conveniently forgetting their own destructive patterns. This selective memory serves their immediate goal of re-establishing control, but ultimately prevents them from addressing underlying issues. Another crucial aspect of their panic response involves social perception. Narcissists invest heavily in maintaining a perfect public image, often portraying themselves as successful, charming, and desirable partners. Your departure threatens this carefully curated reputation, especially if you share your experiences with others. The fear of being exposed as flawed or inadequate drives much of their desperate behavior. They might attempt to discredit you, spread rumors, or manipulate mutual acquaintances to protect their social standing. This reaction demonstrates how deeply intertwined their sense of self is with external validation. Interestingly, the narcissist's panic often extends beyond the immediate relationship context. Your departure forces them to confront uncomfortable truths about their ability to maintain meaningful connections. This realization can trigger an identity crisis, causing them to question their competence in other areas of life. They might suddenly become hyper-focused on career achievements, social status, or new romantic pursuits as a way to compensate for their perceived failure. This compensatory behavior often appears obsessive and unsustainable, further highlighting their underlying instability. The psychological concept of narcissistic injury helps explain the intensity of their reaction. When their ego receives a significant blow, such as being left by someone they considered under their control, their entire self-concept becomes threatened. This injury triggers primitive defense mechanisms, including projection, denial, and splitting, viewing things as all good or all bad. Their panicked response represents an attempt to repair this injury through any means necessary, regardless of the impact on others involved. As the initial shock of your departure wears off, narcissists often enter a phase of intense self-reflection, though not in the healthy sense. Rather than acknowledging their role in the relationship's demise, they typically reconstruct events to paint themselves as victims. This narrative serves multiple purposes. It protects their ego, provides justification for their behavior, and potentially prepares them for future manipulation attempts. They might claim you never truly understood them, accuse you of betraying their trust, or suggest external factors forced your decision. During this period, their panic might manifest as increased productivity or social activity. They might throw themselves into work projects, initiate new hobbies, or pursue ambitious goals. While these actions might appear positive, they often represent another form of avoidance, distracting themselves from the painful reality of your absence. The intensity and duration of this phase vary depending on individual circumstances and support systems, but it typically follows a predictable pattern of escalation and eventual burnout. The ripple effects of your departure extend beyond the immediate relationship dynamics. Colleagues, friends, and family members might notice changes in the narcissist's behavior. They could become more demanding at work, overly attentive to certain social connections, or noticeably withdrawn from others. These behavioral shifts reflect their attempt to compensate for the loss of narcissistic supply you provided, while struggling to adapt to new emotional realities. Observing these changes can provide valuable insights into the depth of their dependency on external validation. One particularly challenging aspect of dealing with a panicking narcissist is their tendency to engage in hoovering, attempts to suck you back into the relationship. These efforts might include grand gestures, promises of change, or manufactured crises designed to elicit your sympathy. Understanding the psychology behind these maneuvers helps maintain clarity during what can be an emotionally turbulent time. Recognizing hoovering attempts for what they are, desperate attempts to restore control rather than genuine expressions of remorse, empowers you to maintain boundaries and focus on your healing journey. The narcissist's panic also affects their ability to form new relationships. Having experienced the destabilizing effects of your departure, they might approach future connections with increased caution or, conversely, heightened desperation. Some might swing between these extremes, creating unstable patterns that perpetuate their difficulties in maintaining healthy relationships. This post-departure behavior often reveals deeper insecurities and attachment issues that continue to influence their interpersonal dynamics. Understanding why narcissists panic when you leave provides valuable perspective on their limitations in emotional processing. Their inability to grieve healthily, combined with their reliance on external validation, creates a perfect storm of psychological distress. This insight shouldn't generate sympathy, but rather reinforce the importance of maintaining boundaries and focusing on personal growth. Recognizing their panic as a reflection of their own limitations helps prevent regression into old patterns or feelings of guilt about your decision to leave. As we continue exploring this phenomenon, consider how this understanding applies to various types of relationships: romantic partnerships, family dynamics, professional connections, or friendships. The principles remain consistent across different contexts, though the specific manifestations might vary. In professional settings, for instance, a narcissistic colleague's panic might express itself through increased competitiveness, attempts to undermine your work, or sudden displays of exaggerated friendship. Recognizing these patterns helps maintain professional boundaries while navigating workplace dynamics effectively. The long-term effects of your departure on the narcissist's behavior can be surprising. Some might eventually acknowledge their role in relationship difficulties and seek therapy or personal development opportunities. Others might double down on their existing patterns, becoming even more entrenched in narcissistic behaviors. Regardless of their chosen path, your decision to leave fundamentally alters their psychological landscape, forcing them to confront aspects of themselves they'd rather ignore. This confrontation, while painful, represents a potential turning point in their personal evolution, though the outcome remains uncertain. Developing strategies for managing contact with a panicking narcissist requires careful consideration. Whether you've chosen complete no contact or must maintain limited interaction, such as in co-parenting situations, consistency and boundary enforcement prove crucial. The narcissist's panic often leads to testing boundaries, pushing limits, and attempting to recreate old dynamics. Maintaining clear, firm boundaries while demonstrating compassion for their humanity without enabling toxic behavior creates space for healthy separation and personal growth. An essential component of navigating this situation involves understanding the concept of grey rock, making yourself emotionally uninteresting to the narcissist. By responding neutrally, without emotional engagement or dramatic reactions, you effectively remove the fuel that feeds their panic-driven behavior. This approach doesn't mean becoming cold or uncaring, but rather learning to interact in ways that don't reinforce their need for drama and control. Practicing grey rock techniques can significantly reduce the intensity and frequency of their attempts to draw you back into unhealthy dynamics. Simultaneously, focusing on your healing journey proves vital. Leaving a narcissistic relationship often triggers complex emotions, including grief, guilt, and uncertainty about the future. Investing in your personal development, whether through therapy, support groups, or self-care practices, helps rebuild your sense of self-worth and establish healthier relationship patterns. Remember that recovery isn't linear. There will be ups and downs, moments of doubt, and times of clarity. Each step forward contributes to your overall growth and resilience. Understanding the narcissist's panic also illuminates broader patterns in human behavior and relationships. It highlights how deeply our need for connection influences our actions and reactions, sometimes leading us to develop maladaptive coping mechanisms. This awareness fosters greater empathy for human complexity, while reinforcing the importance of establishing healthy boundaries and maintaining emotional independence. The lessons learned from observing narcissistic behavior patterns apply far beyond specific relationships, influencing how we approach personal development and interpersonal connections throughout life. As we've explored throughout this discussion, The narcissist's panic when you leave stems from fundamental fears about identity, worth, and connection. Their reaction reveals much about their psychological makeup, while providing valuable insights into maintaining healthy boundaries and pursuing personal growth. The journey away from narcissistic influence requires courage, patience, and persistence, but the rewards are immeasurable. For enhanced self-awareness to improved relationship dynamics, the benefits extend far beyond just escaping toxic patterns. If you found value in this exploration of why narcissists panic when left, I encourage you to share this knowledge with others who might benefit from these insights. Your subscription and support enable us to continue creating content that empowers individuals to transform their lives and relationships. Together, we can build a community dedicated to personal growth and emotional well-being. To everyone who joined us on this journey, thank you for your presence and engagement. Your willingness to explore these challenging topics demonstrates strength and commitment to personal transformation. Remember that you possess the power to create meaningful change in your life, regardless of past experiences or current circumstances. May this knowledge serve as a guiding light on your path to emotional freedom and authentic living. Here's to your continued growth and empowerment in all your relationships and life endeavors.